Welcome to the Breaking 90 podcast, where we talk about all things sustainable fat loss. We take people on 90-day journeys to creating fat loss forever. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the episode.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Breaking 90 podcast. I'm your host, Alex Harriman, here with my co-host, Kelly Sarlo, and we are two of the coaches of Breaking 90 Fitness. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Hey, Kelly.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, thank you. What's new?
It's the beginning of September, which is like, I know it's so bittersweet for a lot of parents because we return to schedule and routine, which we all thrive off of. And that part of it's really exciting for me. But it's so bittersweet because the summer was so much fun and just being able to enjoy that extra family time is massive. So I miss that every year. But as Emerson goes to school and Devin goes back to school, it's exciting to see that and like relive that journey and experience. He wasn't excited at all for school until I would say this morning, which was really cool. Like every day leading up to it, I was like, "You excited for grade 1, buddy?" Nope. "You excited to go back to school?" Nope. And then last night we read a book called The Night Before Grade 1. And the little girl in the book decided to make her own lunch. And there's just for people listening to this too, there's like The Night Before Kindergarten, The Night Before Grade 1. These are really good kids books.
I'm writing
Yeah, I saw you writing it down. And so the little girl in the story makes her own lunch, and he was like, "Can I make my own lunch?" And I was like, "Absolutely, you can." So this morning he woke up excited to make his own lunch, and like we picked out the items together, and he was like chopping his own strawberries, and he's like, "This is really tough work, Dad." Cutting the strawberries, like, it was the cutest thing because I think it's the first time he's like wielded a knife, to tell you the truth.
Yep.
And it was a butter knife, but you don't need much to cut a strawberry. I shouldn't say that. He's buttered like his waffles and things like that, but he's cutting these strawberries. This is really tough work, eh, Dad? Which was so funny. But anyways, from that moment on, he was excited for school. He was excited to see his friends. He was excited to get there. And he was like, "Oh, I think I know my teacher, actually." And I was like, "Oh, how do you know her?" "Oh, I think we met her last year. We met a couple of the grade 1 teachers, but we didn't meet one of them because they're mean." I was like, "What?" And he's like, and I said, "So who is your teacher?" And he said, "Well, I'm pretty sure she has the same hair as Mom, and her hair is brown though, and she usually wears a blue or a black shirt."
And he is notoriously terrible with names.
Oh, so it kills me.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear how the first day went.
Aw.
All right. I've got a kind of fun topic. I don't know where it's going to go, to tell you the truth, but something that's been that I've been thinking about, and I just want to hear your opinion on it. So, yeah.
I'll decide if it's fun.
What's that, sir?
I'll decide if it's fun.
Sure. Have you heard of 75 Hard?
Yes, this has been coming up on every call I'm doing lately.
Okay, cool. Sweet. I'm glad.
Tell
What
me
do you know about it? Anything, or?
Basically that everyone quits by day 50.
Okay. All right. Let me explain what 75 Hard is first. So, program developed, I believe it was like a Marine or something that developed it. I honestly don't know. I haven't read the book or anything like that.
There's a
Yeah, there's a book. But the program is very simple. So there's a few rules to this program. It's a 75-day program. There's a few rules. If you break any of the rules, you start over.
Yeah.
Okay. So the rules are 2 45-minute workouts per day of your choice. One has to be outdoors. Okay.
This is just day 1's rule.
No, this is every day. All the rules are the same for all 75 days.
45 minutes every day.
2 45-minute workouts per day one of them has to be outside.
I already think this is dumb.
Okay. Okay. The second one is you have to pick a diet and stick to it. You get to choose what the diet is. So it could be anything. You choose the diet, you have to stick to it. There's no cheating and no alcohol allowed.
This one was dumb on 4 levels that I can count. Go ahead.
Okay. Then you're gonna like this one. You have to read 10 pages of a book, a nonfiction self-development book per day.
Dumb. Go ahead.
I thought you might like that one a little bit.
We're gonna go back and dig into these though, right?
I know why you don't like it. You have to drink a gallon of water, which for the Canadians is like almost 4 liters of water.
Dumb. Go on.
And you have to take a daily progress picture.
That's fine. Okay.
I'm gonna say that one's kind of dumb.
It is, but that was the least dumb of all of them.
Okay. Okay. Tell me what you think.
Okay, can you go back and spell out each one and I can dig?
Yep.
I'm ready.
So rule number 1, 2. Oh no, I'll backtrack even further. Rule number 1 is that you have to do all of these rules every day. If you miss any, you go back to the start.
Okay, I'm gonna do my very best to tame my level of rage and just deliver this in a really palatable way. Okay.
Yeah.
This is all or nothing thinking, which is the reason that people are struggling to make progress in the first place. So it's demanding 100% perfection, which we are not. And then even if you do achieve the 75 days, and I don't know who's doing that, then what? Right? Like it creates all or nothing forever and ever. So I really don't like this on principle alone.
Yep. Agreed. It's the reason it's so popular right now is that people love the idea of it.
Yeah.
They don't actually love the application, and most people won't stick to this and succeed. And just like Kelly said, if you happen to stick to this and succeed, what comes after? What did you learn from this? And so people love the idea of it though, because it gives you hard set rules to follow, and it's very clear cut and dry how it is applied. Yeah. Okay. Number 2, 2 45-minute workouts per day. One of them has to be outdoors.
Okay. Let me break this down. 2 workouts a day. I don't think that's feasible for a lot of people. Then on top of that, 45 minutes is a long time, especially if you're going into 75 hard starting from nothing, right? So again, that all or nothing thinking, taking a large amount of time for a lot of busy people. One 45-minute routine can be difficult for some people, especially just when they start out. So it's not saying you can break this up into, chunks of time throughout your day. They're saying specifically 2 workouts at a long period of time. I think is just way too big of an ask. And we live in Northern Ontario, most of us, who are listening to this. And yes, we've expanded, through Canada and the US. Our weather is insane. That is ridiculous as an ask to get outside for at least one of them.
Not to mention, if that day comes where it's like a blizzard or a hurricane outside and you choose to do your second workout indoors, you failed this program.
We're also currently in a heat wave as we're recording this. So like we range from heat waves to, as you mentioned, blizzards. Like that's unreasonable. That's my kind language.
And so I suspect the person who's actually going to complete this isn't a beginner, but the problem is it's been marketed to and now is becoming attractive to beginners.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is a challenge, I believe, for like a Marine.
Sure.
Okay?
And even go ahead.
And now this happens with all of these things. It happens with all the fad diets, all the fad workouts. It happens with all of these things. CrossFit's actually a great example. And so it now has gotten to the mainstream market and the beginners, and they're like, oh, I want to do this. It's cool, and it's the new it thing, and I want to challenge myself to do this, right? And the reason I say CrossFit is because I like the fundamentals of CrossFit. I like a lot of the ideas of CrossFit. I think it could be a really good program for a lot of people, but beginners get attracted to it by watching some of the best athletes in the world and trying to be like the best athletes in the world. They don't get into it trying to be a beginner in CrossFit, which is a sport. They get into it because they're like, oh, I want to be like that person who is one of the fittest people on earth. And I'm going to do those things that are going to lead to an injury and overtraining and burnout. That's how I compare that.
And again, just kind of like what you're talking about, to injury and then burnout, you're starting back at day one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I'm
Next.
trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to add there. And I haven't read the book, like I said, they don't specify what the workouts are, so maybe you're allowed to have like a 45-minute walk outside. I don't know, but it still doesn't really change. It doesn't change anything.
So,
Okay, the next one is pick a diet, any diet, and stick to it 100%.
okay. Are there any like asterisks, small print about what diet is defined as?
No.
This is exactly why I think it's absolutely ridiculous, because most people heading into any kind of fat loss, weight loss, if you want to word it that way, don't actually necessarily have the knowledge to know what they should be eating. And I'm saying should in a really kind way. So if you're just led or left, actually, I should say, you're left to figure out what you should be eating, and you're now expected to commit to that for 75 days before you even figured out if that actually works for you, if what you've chosen to eat in your diet is going to fuel you for those 45-minute workouts twice a day we just talked about. Like, I think you don't have enough time to trial and error anything. Also, even I would say I eat mostly the same thing every single day, but picking a diet and sticking to it for that long, like, you're creating restrictions that again is going to lead to all or nothing mindset.
See, this is where, like, yeah, I guess you can interpret the rules however you want. Maybe when you read the book you can't, I don't know. But you could like pick something like Breaking 90, where our 100% is 80%, and you could stick to it 100%. But maybe I'm stretching the rules.
One of the reasons I love you, because you will always find a loophole to make it.
Because anybody could hit our 100% for 75 days, because our 100% is 80%.
Absolutely. But sorry, absolutely. And I think most people going into a 75 hard who don't necessarily know that this is, what it actually is, might sit there and go, okay, I'm going to pick keto. Okay, I'm going to pick, Mediterranean diet. They're going to pick.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure, they're picking the hardest diet they can find.
Exactly. Right. So specific that is also very much all or nothing. Again, they probably haven't tried it on to know that it works for them in terms of what they need for fuel as well. And when I say fuel, I mean energy. So I think picking a diet is way too loose in terms of an actual understanding of what's expected of you. Yeah, garbage.
So the asterisks on diet, which are worth talking about, are no cheat days, no alcohol.
Okay. So, which is basically the same thing, right? So no alcohol included in the diet, and you can't cheat on that. So
yeah,
again,
so even if the diet you choose, like Breaking 90, allows for alcohol, you can't have alcohol.
gotcha. Again, all or nothing. It's creating restriction. It's tempting people with taking the guesswork out of what they're doing, but eventually we're going to want to resist it when it doesn't work for us.
Yeah. Agreed. And there's we've seen tons of people make progress with alcohol. You don't have to cut alcohol. It's probably not going to aid you on your journey, but there's a an opportunity to fit alcohol into your journey and still make progress. So it's not teaching you how to, if unless you're going to quit alcohol forever after this, then like that part of it could make sense if you're like, okay, this is the start to me never drinking again. But if your goal is to not drink for 75 days, then reintroduce alcohol, you're not learning how to exist with alcohol.
Yeah, and to that end, if this is the moment you are deciding to quit alcohol and you're joining 75 hard, not only are you dropping alcohol out of your life, you're also creating a dietary restriction for 75 full days around something else. Like you're doing too much all at once.
Yeah. 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 Okay, next, read 10 pages of nonfiction self-development.
Okay. I see why you thought I was going to absolutely love this. I do think reading 10 pages a day is fantastic. However, I run an emotionally intelligent book club, okay? Just for people to get an actual idea of how much I love self-development. I will read sentences out of some self-development books and have to put it down for a week and think and reflect and implement the things that I am learning, and to challenge yourself or demand yourself to read 10 more pages and consume more, when what we really need to be doing is implementing and actually creating a practice. I
Yeah.
think 10 pages for 75 days without exception is asking too much of yourself, and you're probably missing the point of self-development.
Fair. That's a great reflection on that. I thought you were just gonna say the same thing, that you didn't like that it pushes you into the all or nothing. But that's a great viewpoint on that, because I couldn't agree more. I've listened. You know this about me already, but for the listeners, I like to read fiction before bed, and I like to read nonfiction in the morning. And I will often listen to self-development in an audiobook form, but the same thing happens if you're on like an hour-long drive and they're rambling through a self-development book and you're like, oh shit, there's so much here that I need to like pause and write down and think about. It gets away from you.
So I think at that point, like you're talking the talk to say that you're doing something good, but you're not actually walking the talk if you're not implementing and actually digesting the things that you're learning.
Yeah, agreed. Or at least to its fullest capabilities. Yeah. Okay, drink 1 gallon of water per day.
Okay, cool. If that's your end goal, to be able to drink all of that, that's awesome. But if you are starting out where you are like me before breaking 90 and I was drinking 2 iced coffees and maybe a half a cup of water, I love the laugh. Asking that right off the hop is insanity. Like you need to build things up incrementally, let your body adjust. Like that, you're going to feel like you're drowning yourself.
The thing that I have a hard time with here is that who was this designed for? Because like
Yeah.
a gallon for you and a gallon for me is a lot different. And a 45-minute workout for that person that's never worked out and a 45-minute workout for somebody who trains for 4 hours a day is a lot different. So it's just like a very generic drink a gallon.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna drown a 100-pound girl.
Yeah. Exactly.
But it might be easy for a 300-pound man.
Who does firefighting?
So yeah. Yeah, I that's what I have a hard time with that one. It's just like, oh, a gallon. It's not a formula per body weight. It's not like it's not anything like that. It's just like drink a gallon.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Take a daily progress picture.
Yeah, I mean, fine. Like progress is great to measure. I don't think daily is worthwhile. Plus, if you consider the fact, let's just hypothetically say we nailed all of the other rules and we forgot to take a progress picture today.
You got to start over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely not going to see progress day by day in a progress picture. Like I think taking consistent measurements is useful. Like daily weigh-ins I think is useful. Maybe daily waistline measurement, but probably weekly. and monthly for the others, and progress pictures like monthly, you're gonna start to see that. But if you take like 75 daily progress pictures, you're gonna have like 2-3 week periods where you don't see change, unless you have an opportunity for massive change. Like if you're starting from like the worst health you've ever been in, you might see it on a shorter range. But for the average person, like you're not going to see a progress picture between day 1 and 3 and 5.
No, I mean, unless you're creating a flip book of yourself, like
Yeah.
it's not going to be there.
I guess it's building that routine and habit, but I think it could be done in other ways for sure. Okay, so those are the rules. So you want to do it with me?
Fuck no.
Okay, so funny side note, I want to make a program for us called 75 Sustainable. Yeah. Yeah. And so if you're listening to this, stay tuned, because I'm seriously considering making a 75 sustainable for you all. And I hope that you'll join us on that journey. Maybe leading up to the end of the year or something like that. Because I think it'd be fun. And I like the idea of creating, well, I don't want to ruin the program for you guys, but I like the idea of creating a checklist of daily tasks and habits that we have to complete. Obviously, we would never make you do it 100%, and you're not going to have to start over if you miss a day. But I like the idea of having a consistency-based goal with a checklist that we're trying to accomplish daily. Like I think that is a good idea.
Awesome. If you will have me, I would love to be a part of the planning process. This was a ton of fun ripping this to shreds.
I know right now there's so many people talking about it. A woman at the gym the other day mentioned that she wants to try it, and I was just like, why?
Okay, question.
Yeah.
Do people have to pay to do this?
No, I mean, I guess you probably can buy a program, and you can probably, I don't know. Honestly, I haven't really looked that seriously into it. I think you can buy a book. You could probably sign up for a program with a coach. I don't know if that's a thing. But you can get all of this information I just gave you for free, and you could do it on your own.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
The opposite of cool.
All right. So my tip is going to be like coming off of this idea of what they're creating here, and the reason we like this is because there's very definitive rules, and it's easy to say yes I did it or no I didn't do it, and that excites people. So my tip today is to create a version of that in your own life, and you've heard me talk about this before, but in a really easy way to implement this is by starting your day with wins. And so you could pick the wins. The wins don't always have to be the same. You don't have to start over if you miss a win, and they don't always have to be identical for 75 days. But when we start our day with wins, we build momentum, we build motivation, and we are less likely to want to fuck up the rest of that day. And so finding small wins we can compound off of each other, like drinking a glass of water first thing in the morning, stretching for 5 minutes, reading a little bit of your book. These little things that we normally wouldn't take time for but feel good after doing them, these little wins, if we can compound them as early as possible, getting our workout in, getting a walk in, they don't have to be the first thing you do when you wake up, but if we can start compounding these earlier in the day, we're likely to make the rest of the day successful as a result. And so that's my tip. That's what I want to leave you guys with, something to think about. How can you start your day with a win and compound that into some small wins that can create momentum?
Beautiful. I think that was a really lovely tip to leave people with after a rant of a show.
All right. So what I'm going to ask of you is, wherever you're listening to this, take a screenshot, tag Breaking 90 Fitness, tag 75 Hard if you're feeling dangerous, and post it in your Instagram story. Hopefully we don't get sued. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.